Okay, I share the screen. I think you can see it right now. And also, like I said, the notes already sent to you. If you have any questions, you can ask me. And this is again related to demand and supply one way, because the demand and supply, the supply curve, when you discuss or supply function, according to law of supply, has a positive relationship. So here we try to understand why that happened, like demand curve, theory of consumer behavior, theory of production, including cost of also we discuss. And here the textbook, you can use the microeconomics Nicholson that easy to understand. And also someone is good in mathematics, you can use the intermediate microeconomics Halvarian, but advanced book also there, advanced microeconomics Halvarian. This I pick up the intermediate one. If someone, we can look at the advanced one also. In addition, I have written a book, Theory of Production. That one you can get from the library, and that's only related to theory of production and cost. So you can get it if you want to copy from the library. So before I start this one, just to things I want to explain. Let me- Yeah. Two things I want to explain. One is the, of course, the several times I discuss the production possibility frontier. It's a macroeconomics concept and the related to production, producing, let's say, all the goods we can categorize into two, whatever way, maybe consumer good. In this case, I categorize capital good. Whatever way, maybe you can do that. So here, try to explain the economic boundaries, what we can reach or what we can grow, the economic development. So this what we call production possibility frontier or production possibility curve, it reflects the given technology and given resources country can reach optimal level as a production. When I mention optimal level, fully efficient level. Now, on the line, I know all of you know, and I already explained also before, on the line is reflect the optimal level. Without trade, of course, the can reach the in terms of economic growth or GDP range. Inside, several way defined. One maybe you may let unemployment situation, also inefficiency. If a country like the production inside is called as inefficiency because the does not use the technology properly, does not use the resources properly. Now, the economic growth mean shift production possibility frontier upward. It can be parallel shift or it's not necessary. It can be shift in different range, like here also happen. If country give more effort to capital goods right now, let's say this year, it may happen like the green production possibility frontier. The advantage of kind of focus on more capital goods in later stage. The long term economy move or the production possibility frontier move the faster rate. So right now, if we focus on more capital good, the future would be better. The opposite, maybe some countries is little focus and the more focus on consumer good, giving the subsidies and this kind of focus, and the long-term economic growth maybe issue. The other thing also linked to this one, because at the end we try to understand, we try to improve GDP in terms of money value as a growth. At the end, we try to reach the society welfare. In other words, the satisfaction of the people. So that also we can link to this one. If I draw another curve here, like say the production possibility frontier. Now, if a country fully efficient and use the resources sustainable way and use the technology, given technology, can produce on the line. In that way, I draw another curve here. That curve I call community indifference curve. Basically the welfare of the society. Now you can see the optimal point in that the production, let's say two goods, the consumption and the capital, or you can use the traditional way X and Y, and country must produce you can see the one amount of consumption good and here two amount of capital good. Optimal level country. If the economic inefficient produce somewhere here, which means with that situation, the country social welfare, the community welfare, community satisfaction, somewhere here down. So the economic policies, if you look at some countries, even the producing that level, they try to reach, I think several times I explained also, some kind of higher the welfare level, try to reach, let's say, the welfare level, the true level. Now imagine the production we do in the point A, try to reach somewhere the welfare level point, let's say point B. Now we have to think of how to do that. We have to think of how to do as an economist. Maybe the exam, one question I focus on kind of answers. So you have to think of how to reach that. One way, maybe different ways, one way you may reach this one, engage in international trade. Now, assuming that we are producing optimal level, we are in right now point C level. Just assuming that the economy fully efficient and the producing C level and the welfare we get the W1. Now, without engaging international trade and optimal, Pareto optimal level. But engaging international trade, what happens, you can reach the higher level of satisfaction, but given amount of production, given amount of resources and technology, production may change differently. So, which means the lie is still on the original production possibility frontier. So that's the magic of international trade anyway. Now, without international trade, I think all of you know right now, since you have done international trade or macroeconomics, the economics, the domestic economics price ratio like this orange color line. Let's say the two goods X and Y, that's the domestic price ratio. Now, when you deal with the international trade, what happens? This price line, the slope of the price line change, especially small countries, because the small countries can't influence the international world market price. With the world market price, suppose this happen like this. The international price level. So the brown line, the world market price and the price ratio you get. So that is the world market. In that case, producers now produce point E, which means they reallocate the resources, same resources, same technology amount, reallocate to produce more capital good, in this case, let's say X, produce less Y. Why? Because the comparative advantage the particular country get the producing more X and less comparative advantage. With that engage in trade, import this range, let's say the Y1 to Y2, export in X2 to X1. So they are the decide the exchange rate and the balance payment or balance deficit. Now, the beauty of that, you can see no new technology, no additional resources, but the social welfare can reach little higher level, some more higher level compared to the original W1. Now W3 level can reach. That is the magic of the international trade. So, but using the trade policy, what I from the beginning discussion, I call is the first best policy. Using first best policy, you can reach to social welfare level higher, but the same economic condition in the same amount of resources. Now, still, if someone reached point B, not enough. For that, we need the effort to improve, to lift the production possibility frontier upward. Some policies need that kind of lifting. For policymakers has to look at that one, how we shift or we move the production possibility frontier further away from the origin. If some policymakers take some policies, now several times I discussed kind of a current very high above the optimal level, especially the income tax, it's happened opposite because those who engage in the or contribute to the production activity, they discourage or they may go the shadow economy. It may happen the production possibility frontier shift inward, not outward. So that kind of policy has to be careful, and that happen. Now, for example, let's say, imagine the last week I did not take the class because I feel that better I stay with my family and do things that get more satisfaction than I just do lectures and my transport and other costs giving 36% tax and everything. The margin I maybe take off as a lesser time. So people think of that way. Those who work also try to do kind of a shadow economic and informal economic activity that also happen and the production possibility frontier move inward. So in that way, ultimately, the economy short term, you feel that maybe the government can say, oh, government treasury fill up with the money improve, but at the end, the society does not get much benefit and the welfare not improve. So that's one way I want to explain mainly what is the production possibility frontier, how is linked to the production, and another thing also there, I'll discuss in detail later on how inefficiency situation this happen, how to reduce the inefficiency, this kind of thing also linked to this one. Second point I want to share with you. That one, the production curve, let's say one side input, kind of input labor or whatever, let's say X input, the vertical axis, the output. So what happened, input increase, output also increase, initially increasing rate, and later on come to the decreasing rate and come to the negative rate. So this applied to a single firm, let's say short run situation, this one, when increase, let's say input, let's say labor, output, of course, the increase, like explained here, initially increasing rate in place, and this increase decreasing rate and come to the optimal point and start to decrease. So that is the short run situation. Now here what I want to explain, this production curve on the line again, given level of technology, the optimal amount of production is reflected. Why I use the optimal word, it means that fully efficient. Some producers may inefficient, even the economy you can look at that, they produce somewhere here point A. Then using labor, let's say 1 unit, the firm, let's say 10 unit, firm produce A, but the optimal level without inefficiency, firm could able to produce the point B. So that is the difference here we call inefficiency. If you are good in econometrics, you can calculate the stochastic production frontier. There you capture this inefficiency component and real production together. The production function, what you call, let's say the Cobb-Douglas or whatever, the production function, it does not capture, let's say, the X amount of input. It does not capture this real production and inefficiency component. This is what you get here, this particular theoretical or standard curve, what we call production function. Stochastic production frontier, we get real output here, A, and the different inefficiency component also take into account. We estimate, then they get the factors really affect the production, also factors that really affect inefficiency also. This is input-oriented way of measuring inefficiency. What does mean input-oriented? Given level of input here, labor 10, instead of optimal, the economy produce 18,000, let's say, unit. Now, due to inefficiency, produce only 10 units. So your firm has to look at, similar to apply, you can the country also. This different create due to inefficiency. So stochastic production frontier, if you estimate, you can get to understand what are the reasons. In other words, what are the variables, what are the factors behind that. Then you can take the policy action, policy strategies to address that. Addressing that inefficiency, you can reach to the point B and improve your production. It doesn't mean that to improve your efficiency. Only reduce the inefficiency, what you are doing. To improve the efficiency and productivity, we need a new technology. Given new technology, what happened? This entire production curve shift upward, and with Q2 amount of production. There you can see that with new technology, you can reach now higher level of production point C, and your firm produce 25 units. So that's what we call real growth, real improvement. For that, you need the policies, which different from here you address the inefficiency situation. Here need to different type of policies and strategies. So basically here need to improve kind of a technology, innovation. For that, we have to use mainly expend more research and development and improve. Now you see, as a manager, or even the economic macro level also, you can maybe later on I'll come back to, as a treasury level, secretaries and those policymakers has to adopt two type of policies if really they understand the economy of firms in somewhere here inefficiency level. Because the reach to efficiency is not enough for economic development in this global arena, global concept. For that, you need some effort, some strategies to improve technology and reach that's what really what we can say, the economic growth that happen. It's not only the case, it's not moving. Let me, I go another curve somewhere. Yeah. I'm going to draw another curve here. This is the Q1 what we draw. This is the point A I explained. The producers produce, look in labor, let's say 10, amount of production due to inefficiency, let's say 10. But removing inefficiency or reducing inefficiency, producers can reach to the point B. For that, think of policies what we need. For that, the one I mentioned you, someone teach the economic teach, you can, I don't have time for that. Stochastic production frontier, there you can identify the factors really affect the inefficiency. Address those things, you can reach here B and you can produce 18, which is no additional technology, no additional technology, no additional resources. Improving technology, innovation, expanding research and development more, you can shift production, rather shift rotation, like here, production curve. Same thing I explained the production possibility frontier. Doing that, you can lift production possibility frontier, because individual firm behave like that, the whole economy also like that. In that case, you can reach to the point C, let's say 25, you can produce now. But here, the point C, what you have to do, if you are right B, take the strategy to improve technology, new technology, that way. But still, you can do further, because at the same time, when you rather move into, let's say you are A, rather move into directly to B, you can move to this direction also. That's exactly happening in developed countries. So development mean you move along this line basically. Because in this line, same time, three things happen. One is the reduce inefficiency, reduce inefficiency. For that, you need the strategies and policy. Same time, you can see here, improve the technology. At the same time, you move this direction, adding additional resources. Now, instead of labor 10, you recruit 11 labor, like that, other inputs and that. So as a firm, the real world you are doing three of them simultaneously. For that, you have to understand the factors that affect the inefficiency. There may be one reason your labor management. In that, maybe your management team, you have to give a day to continuous skills provide. And your labor also that part. Here at the same time, you have to think of how to improve technology. There one maybe the giving some expand research and development and improve research and development capacity and link to that. At the same time, you have to think of recruit more resources that also do effective. Now, when you come to the reduce the inefficiency from management, I think you might know there is a concept called underperformance. Here, the addressing underperformance basically the main way you can get rid of this inefficiency, underperformance or poor performance. Poor performance or underperformance. Why this poor performance, underperformance happen, according to management theory, is a function of three things. Think of your organization. It's a country, we can apply to the country also, the macroeconomics. The poor performance, underperformance is a function of three things. One is skill. The other one is the resources. The other one is the motivation. Now imagine your own company where you work. If you don't get the up-to-date skills, your laborers and including you, maybe you can't perform efficiently. Sometimes you maybe recruit the best, first class, whatever the field, and best per. That time it's okay. Let's say you recruit someone in 2020. That time is the conduct a nice interview and perfect interview and recruit the best person. That of course the public sector may not happen, because the public sector, recruitment is not linked to the best performance or best skills, and maybe the political bias and things. Private sector also somehow, but that also matter. Anyway, let's say you recruit the best person. But now by 2025 situation, including technology and other thing, it's not as 2020. So you have to give them skill development training regularly, local and international. With that, your labors, your management, they can perform very well. Now the thing again, though you give the skill, let's say you are very skillful, you maybe get your skill even outside, not your organization, you are skill up to date. You know what happened uh, fourth industrial revolution, you know what happened fifth industrial revolution, you know how to use the AI improve the productivity and things also in the work and everything, let's say you know. But still, if you are not given enough resources, you are not given enough resources. Now, let's say right now, AI is the key thing, data is the key thing, online activities are key thing. Though you have a perfect skill, if your organization not giving you AI facilities, if you are not organization giving you not enough software facilities, now exactly like universities. Universities, they don't give us, they say give the our student the best up-to-date knowledge. Even they don't provide us even without you some research funding or some, even the computer, laptop. I think some of the assistant lecturers here witness and they don't get that. So if they don't, most probably they have their own. So no resources. Imagine I work microfinance sector. The microfinance officers has to go to client, rural areas. The microfinance institution, if they don't at least give them a good mobile connection, mobile phone, and even the motorbike or something transport is they can't propose very well because they go to rural areas is take in that case maybe one day, even sometime more than one day. So in that way, they can't even the skillful they can't perform. Now, government policies also has to be, for example, right now, let's say the data and this the other thing, key, last time I explained about 60% of the economy now move, growth happened due to data. But the government takes on that high. Then that even, even the you are skillful, you can't propose well. And assume those things both they again. Now, if you look at some of the, even I visited some of the public sector, they have full of information about the ministries and sorry, full of resources. Sometime back when I did my PhD, I visited some of the public institution. Those days, the computers and things are like a luxury. What they did is that their directors or their boss keep the computers and even the close and not open only someone visited. So that kind of things also, though they have resources. Uh, so let's say this now the motivation also really matter. Now let's say both of them there, if your uh, superiors, your management, or your policymakers, they don't give you kind of motivation thing. Now what happened in our country, if you work hard, the some top and your college demotivate you. Maybe one of the darling things happen, even the especially the public sector, allegation, pay son, this kind of going, and the afternoon go to boss and tell this thing, and so they try to block you somehow, even your colleagues, even the superiors also. I know some of the PhD students, they also told me, don't let their bosses know that they are doing PhD. So with that they don't like, they happen dismotivate. So this create a underperformance. Is underperformance create one of the reasons for this inefficiency. So if you can remove those things, you can reach B, not enough, then you have to think of your organization, improve technology, shift production possibility promptly. So that kind of strategies also you need uh, if you run a, if you manage the firm. That's not also enough. You have to think of a plan, human resource and other resources improvement, increase, And that kind of plan also you need that. For that, let's say that you take the labor, human resources, recruit new people, your strategies, your policies must be incentives. Otherwise, best people like now happen Sri Lanka move from the country and they settle down other countries. Nowadays, you can see that many people talk about the people. Those days, our young people like to join public sector. Now try to move away from the public sector because the government try to uh, not only tax and other ways also. The public sector is the victims of the this recent changes of the government policy become, because they try to, even the some of their, you say, try to resign early retirement and not join this kind of thing also. Now all these matter is a production. Now it's this similarly apply the firm level as well as the macroeconomic level, because the macroeconomics also you may learn this production curve, how to shift and what policies we need. You move these individual firms, this shift like that, the economy also, this happen, production possibility, frontier move. For that, government, as a government role, government policy makers have to think of these three areas, how to reduce inefficiency of the firm level, give the private sector incentives. It doesn't mean that the incentives mean giving subsidy. Subsidy is the killer. Give some kind of a business environment to reduce the inefficiency, able to develop skill, provide enough resources and motivation. And also encourage or give the facility. It doesn't need, again, the incentives mean subsidy. Make an environment to improve research and development and expend more research and development, new innovation. At the same time, as economy, country, the treasury, policymakers, even central bank has to look at how to get more resources. That is, in our country, mainly, more resources mean capital flow, foreign direct investment, this kind of thing, and also local investment, make the environment for that, and keep the labor within the country rather moving away from the country, this kind of policy. You can see with that ultimately what happened, the production possibility frontier move, the economic growth. Rather thinking of the part of the society take to a high level of community indifference curve. When I mention this part, either top level the politician and people, or try to treat the people who don't work, has to make policies to bring entire here, bring this level, only solution, improve the production possibility frontier rather than begin from other countries. So waiting for other countries support, this is what we have to do. With that, I will go back to the slide here. But if you have any questions or clarification, still you can ask right now. I can give you maybe 1-2 minutes if you have any clarification or question. Okay. It looked like no. Here, what I try to explain two things. On the little understanding production possibility frontier, the other thing, understand the production curve, short run, how they are identify inefficiency and improvement. Then we will see how the theory of production linked to those we are going to look at. Now, here is the management level. If you look at the understand this production theory, very important, all the sectors, like I see, so already reduce the inefficiency, improve the productivity, improve the resource base. It depends on the understanding of this theory of production. They are the managers, when they make the decision, understand the theory of production, they can take the decision whether to produce or shut down the firm, whether the increase the firm certain scale or stop that point, whether go for long term or stop in the medium micro level firm and enjoy the profit. How much to produce also they can decide if you understand really theory of production, which means you decide how much the production is not basically based on the demand, it's a maximize profit maximization level. And there you can understand what type of input combination you have to use. Very simple case, let's say two input, labor and capital. And understanding the theory of production, you can see the combination, what ratio, what proportion of the labor and capital you recruit. And the type of technology to use also, labor incentive, capital incentive, you can decide if you understand the theory of production. Before that, go for this kind of micro level detail. So two things I already explained anyway. The producers, individual producers, even they don't know, and the individual producers motivate their direct and the government policymakers also try to always get the optimal economic efficiency. Economic efficiency. When the economic efficiency there, producers can earn optimal amount of profit. So if I use the symbol for profit, that maximum amount of profit. In other words, producers, when they try to maximize profit, not like a cheating, that you can see later on when the producers cheat, what happened, a real way, maximize profit, or optimize output, or minimize cost, they reach economic efficiency. But economic efficiency has two components. One is the allocated efficiency. The other one, technological efficiency. Now, if a producer try to get only technological efficiency, it doesn't mean that the producer can reach economic efficiency. If I use the economic efficiency doubly, to reach economic efficiency, you have to reach both allocated efficiency as well as the technological efficiency. Now, if you are a manager, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a top level policy maker, you have to think of, you have to this thing, whether your policies, if you want to target economic efficiency, not only the targeting technological efficiency, but you have to think of allocative efficiency. Allocative efficiency is related to budgeting. How you use your resources, in the sense budget efficiently. Whether you can do something $100, but if you spend 110 for that, you are not allocative efficient. Simple, you can understand. The technological efficiency is the other thing. Whether you use your input, you handle, you manage your input efficiently. That, when you learn later, you can see we try to capture this technological efficiency part, production side. Allocate efficiency part, the cost side. So we will see later on, just this an understanding. Now here, as a producer, simple layman, simple producer, they don't know those kind of jargon. They try to do either minimize cost given production. For example, let's say you want to produce within a week 100 unit. 100 unit. So this, the required demand, the required production depend on the demand market, 100,000 or 100 billion unit. Weeks you had to forecast, your management department, they forecast you. Now your management, you try to produce the 100,000, the minimum cost. Minimum cost. So for that, use the strategies. Cost minimization. Some try to, it doesn't mean that minimize cost, reduce in quality. In that case, you can't go to the market and the world market, you can't sell your thing. That exactly happens some of the Sri Lankan product in the world market. They try to minimize the cost, reducing quality. Many cases, Japan and came and they stop import from Sri Lanka certain goods. It doesn't mean that way, or maybe you can see in our within the country also minimize cost. For example, let's say the bread and kind of a thing. When the government increased tax and they reduce the size of the bread, reduce the quality of the bread, put in rather good thing, and they put it like. It doesn't mean that way. So minimize cost. The other one, instead of minimize cost, some producers target the maximize output. They have, let's say your management, if you are a manager, this week you are given 10 million. Your top level management given 10 million, asked to produce within their no target, maximum amount. So maybe some producers target 1,000 units, some maybe 800. Those who try to reach the 1,000, we can say the most efficient and optimal level of production. For that, use the strategies. Those strategies, like I said before, not the reduced quality, not the reduced size of things, and that way. For to do that, you short term and long term as a manager use the strategies like reduce inefficiency, improve productivity, including technology improvement and other things, and also those things you do. Takes happen. When you do so, either minimize cost or maximize output, ultimately reach the same conclusion. When you do so, you reach automatically economic efficiency. Whatever you do, minimize cost or maximize output, ultimately as a producer, you reach the economic efficiency. Now imagine, if you are a single firm, private or public, whatever, each single firm, rational firm, reach this kind of a situation, economic efficiency, entire economy, taking the production possibility frontier also, you can reach to optimal level. You can further shift production possibility frontier. So you can see that if you are macroeconomic policymaker, central bank or treasury or whatever other way, then you have to, rather than just think of collecting tax money and putting to the treasury and see happy, oh, you this year we got lost money, your target has to be give support to individual producers, improve those things and reach the economic efficiency. Now, that's why if you read my article, sometime I have written, collect this kind of revenue, go to treasury, really we have to look at whether this thing happened. This thing happened. Or maybe government can argue, we use those money and our public sector, we improve. But if you look at the world literature, compared to private sector, public sector, anyway inefficient. In that way, it creates inefficiency. You get more money and pump to the public sector. You can argue different way, but look at the literature, you can see that. So again, go back to the original point that discussed. Now I already explained this production curve. Like I explained, some are produced in the inside the set, like point A, you are inefficiency. I explain input-oriented inefficiency, how to measure. And also you can look at from the other angle, output-oriented way of also measure. How they do that, for example, output-oriented way mean to produce output, for example, let's say here 80 per day, instead of you use the 5 labors or 5 input, now your organization, you may use the 20 input. So now imagine two organization. I'll take the organization X and Y. What X doing to produce 80, to produce output 80, use the labor 20. The Y also to produce 80, to use the input. Now imagine looking at these simple numbers, which firm is more efficient, you can understand. Output-oriented way measure the inefficiency. Now, this inefficiency X firm, what you have to do, get the policies, get the strategies, to reduce the input level to produce this 80. Because 80 is the target, what the market really need for the particular week or particular day. In that case, keep in 20. If you produce more, improve efficiency like 100, you have problem related to marketing. Because the no enough demand, then you get the more problem. And that output-oriented wave machine, looking at the efficiency, also very important. If your market is limited, the market, think of market expansion, and the other way you can look at the both way. So that's why we have to look at the output-oriented way and the input-oriented way, measuring inefficiency, take the action. Now today after finish the class, you think of your organization, whether in between 5 and 20. Then think of what strategies you can use to bring full efficient the point B level. Now shift this, rather rotate production punch curve, but we need the improvement of technology. When the improved technology, this happens. So that's what I explained. Now I used to give exam question like this. I draw even the graph, production function like that. Let's say 1. Let's say 2. In the exam, I used to give question. Let's say you are, imagine point A. Now you know what is the point A. I ask the question whether you can move to point B and point C, point D, or some point here, point D. From A, I used to ask the question whether you can move as a producer this point. The second part of the question, or the same question, second part, plus if it is possible, if you think it is possible, the way, what strategies. When you write your answer, don't jumble in those strategies. You have to, I want to know specific, for example, A to B reached, what kind of specific strategies, action you have to take. Otherwise, you don't get proper marks. A to D, what kind of specific action and strategies. Similarly, direct to, let's say, A to C. 2 different type of strategies action you need. A to F also like that. I need separately, clearly categorize. We not put in all together, clear strategy. So that question I used to ask, but I think I did not ask last year. Maybe this year possible. And also I used to have the link in this individual firm. I convert this into macroeconomic level, same graph, for example. Let's say this is the GDP in the country. This is China or Sri Lanka. Same concept you can apply this resources, this is GDP, because the macro level is come GDP output. Now here the countries like, let's say, Sri Lanka, if you this point here, I asked you to ask question whether you can reach to point B, C, and also point somewhere D and E. Think of, even if you answer first question, you say yes. That's the potential. That's the possibility. Then I need a clear strategy, clear action. Also, the same question. Like I said that before, not put all together and jump. Also, maybe just now I think of as a country, whether the current economic now, current economic when you mean by led by IMF, because the IMF is the one govern the country right now. It's possible to do so, or maybe you can say IMF plus government, but this little effort, whether you can reach each of the point. If not, why? If yes, how? And so that may be the most the visible question this year. Then think of the answers. Now here, the new thing also I support to add is I already mentioned the production possibility frontier, and you already learned from macroeconomics definitely. And also another thing you learn from macroeconomics, aggregate supply curve. In Sri Lanka, what we see, we have a bottleneck at the supply side rather demand side. Now, of course, now demand side also bottleneck because the high government action, the demand also reduced. That also affect to the economy long term. But the main fundamental root causes is the supply side. Those demand side causes create recent government and the policymakers. So you may say that is the IMF, but IMF you can negotiate and reduce the government revenue, increase revenue, not put in this tax trap. Now here, more the production possibility frontier, like I explained, three ways: reduce inefficiency, improve the productivity through technology, increase the resources. So that's what I can see right now, three categories. But these are the something, some instrument what we can do to these three areas. Now, technological advance in that happen, improve the technology. Individual, you have to target how individual firm production curve shift after. In that way, the aggregate level supply curve shift and the production possibility front. Improve productivity, that also with the technology and some other it happen. Education and skills also matter, especially mainly to reduce the inefficiency and also connect to the productivity. So that is also matter. Change in the government regulation, that is the really matter, because nowadays due to government regulation, I don't know, any PhD student, even a master student try to measure due to government regulation, at least selected industry, how much create the transaction cost. Because the transaction cost, part of the transaction cost coming due to uh, regulation. So that regulation is also matter, improve the production possibility frontier and the aggregate supply. And also demographic changes and migration. That is really, you can see the demographic changes is definitely come long term, but we don't get advantage as country Sri Lanka because nowadays you can see after especially 2020, 2019, the migration is flooding, and so the best resources moving. So we need the policies, think of that. And the competition policy also matter to improve the aggregate supply and the move the production possibility promptly. Enterprise and risk taking also, we need the policies, create the external business environment. Like I always say, when you talk about the business environment, you have 3 layers. All these things help improve these 3 layers. Inside entrepreneurs, we need the policies, strategies, action to create entrepreneurs, improve the entrepreneur skill, those things. The middle layer create environment, internal business environment, the workers, human resources, their teamwork, their improvement. So those also like education skills health. And the main in Sri Lanka barrier is the external business environment. Low technology, low productivity, corruption, kind of those things, infrastructure, like IT policies, tax policies. Yeah, like imagine now world is moving with the IT and data. If the government impose so much tax, that what happened result production possibility frontier move inward. It's not happening. Now, mobility also, that matter. Economic incentives, example like tax incentives, those kind of thing. Institutional and structural changes also really matter because like last time Nobel Prize winners, our institutional structural pattern created by the colonized system, British and whatever the colonized system. So that hidden so much the economic growth changes and the increased supply. Though we don't feel that is the key thing. And for example, take a decision. The structural level that kind of creating AR code or whatever the PR, PS, whatever this also root causes of those things. Those create barriers to independent free market and the economic growth and decision making. So those are some of the things you can look at when I think of the previous slide I mentioned, answering those questions, the move economy on the firm level. Some of them you can take from these is because help to understand how and why production possibility frontier or aggregate supply curve move around. Now let's go back to the individual, the production again. Okay, we have about another 20 minutes. Now, the output is a function of several input. Link what we call production function. So supporting the input, giving more inputs, the production change. That the theoretical technical link when you develop, you call the production function. Now, to understand the textbook or teaching purpose, we use only 2 inputs here, labor and capital, but it doesn't mean that production function has to be with only two inputs. I noticed that some of you master level rarely see, but the PhD level also. But the developing production function and connect to a conceptual model, you always try to start this labor and capital. But it's not the case. Some input also there. So we use the labor and capital just to understand. This table shows the output with the different combination of input. Now, the one side you can say the horizontal labor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The other side, the capital unit. Okay. The inside in this matrix, those numbers, those inside numbers, quantity of, or we call output. Now, for example, if your firm uses that one capital and the one labor, optimal level, when I use the optimal level mean without inefficiency, we produce on the production function, not the production frontier, not the stochastic production. You produce, for example, labor 1, this is short term, given capital, you produce only 1 unit. You say the labor 2 improve the same amount of capital. If you move to the labor 2, you produce more, in this case 8. So here 4, 8. Like that, you can see these numbers. Now, if I take the first row here, which means the capital in the 1, the short run, when you move, which means when you increase labor, you move along this production curve. These are the numbers. Now, after the class, you can take a piece of paper. You can draw that. For example, let's say, imagine given capital right now you have 4, the organization. You can see that when the labor shows increase, your production increase this line. 24 with one labor, 39. This is, you have to understand these numbers are fully efficient, technologically efficient numbers. It doesn't mean that you are inside this production or on the line, all the numbers. All the numbers, you are on the line. You are technologically efficient. But that doesn't mention that you are economically efficient, right? Here, these numbers, you are only technical efficient. To get the economic efficiency, you have to find the number here go with the allocative efficiency. In that case, for example, if you use the for capital situation short run, both these 24, 39, 52, 60, 67, 73, those numbers are, it doesn't mean that you can get the economic efficiency all the point. Only one. The otherwise you can say this is the best produce 85. You can't, even the short run, you can't say this is the produce 85 is the best. So that's what we are going to understand. Now, let's go to the little detail, looking at this production table. Here values move in one row, horizontal. You talking about the short run situation. What does mean short run? Short run mean at least one input, fixed level situation. Now here, why I say this is the number 4 peak short run, because the capital fixed system. Then you move into this direction 39, 52, 60. You are talking about the short run. Now we try to understand in the short run the optimal amount of production, whether it is 60 or 67 or even more than that. So that is the optimal point. We have to understand, take the short run decision, which means the short run whether you recruit 4 labor or 5 labor. It doesn't mean that at the end you get 85 is the optimal level and you recruit 8. That is the wrong decision. That decision based on short run factor productivity. Factor productivity. In other words, when you make the short run decision, theory apply factor productivity. So if you are a producer, when you make the short run the optimal decision, that decision make you based on factor productivity. We will understand that later, what does mean really factor productivity and how producers make the decision based on factor productivity. But understand, when you make the decision using factor productivity, short run you are economically efficient decision you make. When you come to the long run, now long run situation is different. You move even not vertically, cross like this. Both input in situation, the long run. The long run definition is the period, time period. The firm can adjust all the input. In our case, labor and capital both. That is the time period. Now, we don't misunderstand when you mention the long run and short run. Wholesale, you can say industries get 1 week, the short run, and the long run 1 year. That is wrong. Because some industries, within 1 day, you can be a long run. For example, let's say along the street, small boutique and small tea kade, sometime kanda kade, they can completely change the scale within 1 day. So in that case, that particular business, long run is maybe 1 day. Some industries, let's say the shipping industry, to make the at least one input like capital to change, take 2-3 years, because the all plant and all the building and you have to build up, they take maybe 2-3 years. For them, in the long run, maybe 3 years. So it depends on the industry. Now, in general, service industry, long run may be very short because the change the service and with the IT, digital, telework, those kind of in the long run also very short because you can, with the skill, change the capital and do. Now, the long run, the producers, when they take the decision, theory apply, return to scale. That is very important, your study purpose. In the exam, I'm not going to ask whether the short run, which theory apply, long run with theory apply. But the short run, while the factor productivity is the theory we apply, the long run, we apply a return to scale theory. So make the decision based on return to scale. Down red color, you can see another word, I use the economic scale. These are same thing, but the two sides of the coin. Return to scales and the economic scales are same thing, but the two sides of the coin. Why I use the two sides of the coin? Same thing, looking at the different ways. Return to scale, we looking at the production side. Economic scale, we looking at the cost side. Now we said that's why it's the same coin. Whatever you looking at whatever the side, the value of the coin same. Here also like that. We use the term, the economic scale, when you analyze this long run decision, the cost side. Production side we call return to scale. So whatever doesn't matter, like I explained from the beginning, producers can reach the economy scale, either minimize cost or maximize output. So that both way you reach to same, you get the same coin, same profit. So that by the production theory, we call this concept. This concept mean cost minimization and output maximization as a duality. As a duality. So if you read the book I have written, you can see there how that happened. So now again, summarize this slide. Short run, the time, at least one factor you can't change. Apply the producers, take the decision, economic efficient decision, factor productivity. Long run, all the factors can be changed. They apply theory to make the decision, increase the economic efficiency, return to scale. That's what we are looking in the production side. Same thing we do cost side, what we call economic scale. So we are going to learn those things. Now, the last point, maybe today, this is the short run movement. Now, let's say given the capitalist spoke, you have a firm, let's say you run a public transport, you have 4 buses. Now, increase in drivers and laborers, short run you are doing. When you do these are the production or output, what happens? With 1 labor 24, with 2 labor to 39, 52, like that you move in. Like I explained before, you take the decision whether you stop recruit labor and produce 60 or any other, depend on the factor of productivity. It's not an arbitrary decision. Here the number 85 mean you don't go to produce 85, which means you don't recruit 8 laborers. That is not sometimes economically efficient. Sometime I say maybe that also the number is not economic efficient level of production. What we try to do, maybe not today, next week, to identify which number, what amount of production or what amount of labor you use to produce short-run, economically efficient amount of production. So we will see that later on. This is the long-run movement. Like I explained, the producers move along this red line. You can see both input in this case for the same scale is not necessary. Change and the producers move this direction. Again, there also, it takes time with the long run. So reach 120 is not the best point. Here, looking at the return scale, we have to decide the optimal. When I mention optimal, mean economic efficient level of production. It could be 75 or 60, even 120, we don't know. That to find, we know some market signal, like the price of the value of your product, price of your inputs, and your technological capacity, those things all together, only you decide. There, the long run, you decide where you stop your size of the firm. Now, when I mention this kind of a thing, where you stop your size of the firm, you might have thinking, you might have a puzzle. In that case, some firms, the micro level or small level firms, you go there and you have to stop. No, that is not the case. So producers has to use the different strategies for further scale up, and that we will discuss later on. But here, the long run mean it's about your size of the firm. Size of the firm. Long run mean your size of your firm increasing or decreasing level. Short run means the size of your labor and the resources increasing. Same size. Let's say you have a tuition class. One building seat is on right now, let's say 80, but still capacity there. You can increase up to 100. That is short run. But after 100, you have to take the long run decision. You have to expand the tuition class whole size also. For that, you need some time. So that is the long run. So that size also you can increase certain level, get the economic efficiency. After that, what happened? You get the inefficiency, economic inefficiency. For that, you have to use the different strategies. Otherwise, you will develop stagnation, like economic stagnation. So for that, you need the different strategy. We will look at those things later on. Now, I'll stop this point today. Now, this is the law apply the short run, law of diminishing marginal return. We will discuss next week how it's happened. In this is where we get the diminishing marginal return, where we stop recruiting the laborers given size of the firm scale. So we will do that decision next week, some calculation, some graph doing, and we will understand next week. With that, I'll stop today. But if you have any the question or clarification, still I can give some time. Otherwise, you can move. You can leave the meeting. And also, if someone missed this time lectures, you can watch it YouTube also. I already send you right now before, so you have the link. You can watch there also previous one also. So thank you very much. If you have any questions for you right now. Okay, it looked like no questions, and then